Are people on IMDb are haters in general. Anyway, hello everyone. Welcome to the First Ones to Die podcast. We hope you're doing lovely today. I am Jonathan. I'm here with Alex and Jerome, the First Ones to Die crew. How are you both doing today? Alex,
Why
how you
did
doing?
you hesitate when you said our names? Did you forget our names for a second?
No, because I was debating in my head how I wanted to introduce you guys because I didn't want to say my co-host because it's not like my show and you guys are the co-hosts. So I wanted to introduce you guys fairly. Like these are the people today. You guys are the people. We the people. Anyway, like, where is this going?
Uh, I'm good. I'm just gonna keep moving on from that. Uh, we we were just talking about our plans coming down to LA and seeing our Jonathan. We're super excited. I say our Jonathan. Is that okay phrasing or like?
That's
Uh,
that's 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 good. That's good to me.
it's been an okay week. I found out one of my coworkers is kind of racist, so that was fun. Other than that, actually, it's not that been that bad. Yeah, I
As
know.
as you sip your tea.
Yeah.
Jerome, how are you doing? How's your week been?
Been good, man. I'm chilling. Uh, that's about it.
All right.
Not much
Okay.
going
Jerome
on.
doesn't have a life. He edits like the podcast and his reviews. He doesn't. This is what he does. What
Oh,
about you,
by the way,
Jonathan?
Black Widow review is up, starring yours truly. And it's up on YouTube exclusively. So if you want to see, I guess my thoughts at least on Black Widow and what I thought of the film, go on to YouTube, check that out. One of our mini reviews. More to come on the way.
I thought Black Widow would be exactly like how everybody has been describing it. So I feel like I didn't miss much. But how you doing, Jonathan? Did you regret not
I'm
seeing Black Widow?
I'm doing good. I didn't, although I've heard good things about the movie. You know, people are talking about it. Yeah, those are the good things that I heard about the movie. My week was hectic. I was talking to Jerome earlier. A lot of things going on. I have a showcase for my class next Wednesday, so I'm excited for that and excited to be done with it. Uh,
I
other
think
than
I
that,
asked you. Are we allowed to see that?
yeah, I can get you guys tickets. Well, we'll talk offline about it, but yeah,
Yeah. Well, I
I'll
mean,
schedule.
I've been to like almost every one of your plays. Just all of a sudden, like I'm not coming to like one of them. I feel like
I've
that's
only been
getting
to
cheated.
two, but I was still, on behalf of your parents, who I never saw at either of them when I went. Uh, I was the proud parent in the audience for you, Jonathan, just sitting there like that's my boy right there, that Jonathan right there. Look at him.
I just like how Kaylee and Lauren. So after one of your plays, we were looking like trying to figure out how best way to find you, and we're like, oh, I know his parents are here. And Kaylee and Lauren kind of gave me like kind of glared at me a little bit when I'm like, that tall black man looks like Jonathan. That's his father. They're like Alex, and I'm like, what? That man looks like Jonathan. No, and they're like, well, yeah. And I'm like, and he's extremely tall. I'm like, they're like, you didn't need to say black man. I'm like, it's a description. I'm like, if he was white, I would be like, that tall white man looks like Jonathan. But I'm like, as far as I know, Jonathan's not mixed like that. So that's even more conclusive that that's your father.
Imagine like one of the times after the show, I'm hugging like this Asian man and this white woman, and you're like, John, are those your parents? I'm like, yeah, you guys didn't know I was.
I'm
I
adopted.
mean,
Anyway,
whether or not, I don't know. I mean, mixed race couples like have kids sometimes that look like a completely other race.
that's true.
Like sometimes it's like, oh, and then you're like, wait a minute, you're not.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
Bruno
called
Mars.
he's been out here cheating.
No. Bruno Mars. Bruno Mars, right there and then, is a great example of that. Because everyone's like, he's black, and they're like, no, he doesn't even have any black in him, actually.
No, the weirdest thing is easily when
Miranda
when
Cosgrove.
no
I still
Because
agree
we
with you on that.
did have this conversation a couple weeks ago.
And
about
I
Miranda
still
Cosgrove.
agree with you on that. It's freaks me out. Anyway, go on.
no,
Sorry.
the weirdest one is when it's a mixed race couple and they have twins and each twin comes out different skin tones. Because there have been like twins where it's like
Cases
a
like that, yeah.
white parent,
Yeah.
black parent, and then the twins come out black child, white child.
Or they come out. I actually knew this girl once who I swore she was Latin. It's like, yeah, you're definitely Latin. There's like no doubt about it. And not even like Hispanic. She was Latin. And then I met her parents. I believe her father was white and her mother was black. I recall that. And I was like, wow, you got like an exact mixture. You were like even tones throughout genetics. She was a lighter, she was like perfectly mixed. And I was like, you have like 3 races in your family. But anyway,
Speaking of parenthood, we're talking about Space Jam
Okay,
2.
nice attempt. Nice attempt.
Listen,
technically, is this Space Jam 2? Is this a?
It's
Yeah,
called,
two.
the official title is Space Jam: A New Legacy. And it tells the story of a rogue artificial intelligence that kidnaps the son of famed basketball player LeBron James, who then has to work with Bugs Bunny to win a basketball game. Bugs Bunny and team, okay, might I add, and the Looney Tunes, okay?
I don't know.
So
Bugs Bunny
basically,
seems to be
if
like the leader of the entire group.
don't discredit the team, okay? Lola Bunny put in that work.
Lola's the
Anyways,
only useful one. Everyone else is just there for the ride.
okay, you gonna give Granny and the Roadrunner them props, okay? Anyway,
Okay, no, I will give Granny the props. Roadrunner is annoying.
Roadrunner's
He
one of
was-
my
he
favorite
was traveling.
of the hold on real
that's
quick.
what I was about
Who
to
was
say.
your
Half the
favorite? Who was
characters
your
in the movie
favorite?
were traveling.
Who was your favorite Looney Tune? Growing up.
I'd probably have to go. I'd probably have to go with Bugs Bunny. I don't know if you can see that, but this is
You
Bugs
have
Bunny,
it.
and
That's
he's
so
wearing a Space Jam.
cute.
So this came in Gibson's bark box, and he's currently looking at me, waiting for him to throw it. But it's a Bugs Bunny toy, and he has a Tweety bird as well, and some Space Jam snacks with LeBron James' face on them. So yes,
You're feeding him.
That's cool.
I was
Alex?
Daffy Duck.
Daffy.
I was always
I like
Daffy
Daffy
Duck.
too.
I liked the Speedsters. It was a tie between Speedy Gonzalez and the Roadrunner. Those are my 2 favorite Looney Tunes growing up as a kid.
I love Speedy Gonzalez. He was just always fun.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, I do want to say I was already not going into this not really liking the idea of the new Space Jam because I'm such a fan of the original Space Jam and Michael Jordan. So already, like, I came in, I'm not gonna lie, with a bad taste in my mouth of why they're doing this. They're taking a classic film. They're taking something, and Michael Jordan of all too. Because I'm from Chicago. He's one of ours.
No,
Yeah.
he's not. He might have played for the Bulls, but he's from the Carolinas. He's one of mine. All right. He's from North Carolina.
It doesn't
Born.
matter. No, it doesn't matter
Well,
where
he
you
went
born.
to Seattle one time, okay? So he's one of mine, all right? He took a trip to Seattle, okay?
That
Jonathan,
don't
sit
even
down.
count. He didn't play for that team or nothing.
Yeah, and you know what? In South Carolina, they did nothing. They didn't.
He at least played
they
for the
didn't-
Hornets in Charlotte before he went to the Bulls.
Oh yeah, you're right. Everybody talks about his time as a Hornet player.
Don't matter if they
Yeah.
talk about him playing. Listen, that's what I'm saying. Michael Jordan's ribs, when that
His-
comes out and that restaurant is made, people are going to be buying Jordan's ribs every day.
And commenting on how great he was with the Bulls. No,
Okay, guys,
you got my
let's
accent coming
table
out.
this
Don't do that.
let's table this conversation for our Michael Jordan stats episode. But right now, we talking Space Jam. Basically how this will work is we will talk about our non-spoiler view, so what we thought about the movie, and then after that, we will get into spoiler stuff, the nitty-gritty, and probably have some heated debates. Alex, you were going to say something, and you can lead into your thoughts on the movie as well.
Well, I was gonna keep going about Michael Jordan, but I'll back off with that.
I'm just kidding. You can go ahead if you like.
I will start. No, because I'll go down that rabbit hole. I found this movie a little slower paced than I thought it'd be, and just the opening part just reminded me of every family style movie ever. It was that same, dad son relationship. And it was really funny because as I was going through Instagram, Kaylin, our once guest, a friend and old supervisor, was watching the movie. And I told him, I'm like, oh, we're reviewing that tonight. I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure how close I'm going to be to the positive side of the review. And his wording was, are you saying you're going to dunk on it?
That sounds like him.
To which I sent him that, where I slowly glare at him instead.
I can't see it.
I don't know if people can see it.
The Geico.
I didn't want to. I gave him a credit quote for that, but pretty much that's pretty much it. It felt like it also just referred to a lot of stuff too. Like, I understand it's kind of what Bugs Bunny and like the Looney Tunes do sometimes. They do reference points to like popular TV shows or stuff like that, where they have like that adult humor in it when you're watching it as a kid. Now it just kind of felt like it just kept coming and they were like one after the other. And it was like, okay, when are you actually going to reference the Looney Tunes when you guys are? So it was hard for me to actually feel like I was with this movie. And again, a lot of it was the pacing of it. I felt like for an action, sports-ish movie, it did kind of run slow for me. But without going into spoilers, that's kind of how my vibe for the movie was.
Jerome, how about you?
This movie is this movie's neat. That's not the right word, but that's what I'm gonna say. Yeah, I'm gonna say for now. Because I will say this movie is it wants you to first of all, let me tell you something, audience. This movie wants you to think this is Space Jam 2, right? Space Jam: A New Legacy starring LeBron James. That's not what this movie is. All right, let's just I wanted to try and find a way to word it in a different way, but I'm just say it like this. You know what this movie is? This movie should be called HBO Max: the movie, because all they did for majority of this film is sell you on, hey, you like this property? Get you some HBO Max. Hey, you like this thing? Subscribe to HBO Max. You like these characters? Subscribe to That's what I felt like for the whole first half of this movie, is nothing but references that don't make sense. And it's like, I'm sorry, when are the Looney Tunes going to show up? I came to watch LeBron James play basketball with the Looney Tunes, and I feel like I'm being sold a commercial the whole time. And it's weird because it's like, it's Space Jam. Like, the premise alone is fairly simple. Basketball player in real life plays basketball with the Looney Tunes. It had no right being as successful as it was the first time, especially considering that Michael Jordan can't act. So the fact of the matter is that movie should not have been as successful as it was. But that being said, that movie is fantastic. It's a cult classic. I love Space Jam. Me and my sister watched that movie a ridiculous amount of times on VHS. Space Jam's awesome. So if you're going
to junk on Space Jam 2.
Now, well, if you're going to do a sequel, you would think it would be focused on LeBron James and the Looney Tunes, not 1,000 other movies, including this one.
The ad space.
Yeah. Now, that being said, that's the first half of the movie. The second half, though, that's Space Jam 2 and what I signed up for. And I enjoyed it. I had fun. I liked the basketball. I liked the characters. I'll get into more details later in the spoilers, but for the most part, it's left me conflicted as far as like if I like this movie or not, because I that beginning part just feels unnecessary or just like a weird separate movie. and then the second half feels like the movie you signed up for. And when that's on, it's fun. But I don't know. We'll get into the spoilers and we'll talk about it more.
Jonathan, I'm going to disappear for your review for a second because Cheddar's got his nails stuck on my clothes. So you talk. Tell us your review.
Okay. For those who are not watching the YouTube version, I just want to point out Alex made an obscene gesture at Jerome for the second week in a row. So
He
there's that,
can't.
if
I
you
don't know what she's mad about. Like, listen, you can't. Being honest is a part of being on a podcast. I feel like, and to be quite honest, Michael Jordan can act. All right, but that's not what they hired him for. They hired him because he's A, Michael Jordan, and B, can play some basketball. That's why he was hired to be in Space Jam. That's it. He wasn't hired to act. And if he was, that was an unreasonable ask.
Well, now he has the title of actor in his Wikipedia bio. But for me, Jerome, I feel like I actually have the opposite view of you, in the sense that what you liked and what I didn't like, and what I didn't like and what you liked are the opposite. So not gonna lie, I don't know if I should hide my face, but I actually liked all the crossovers with seeing King Kong randomly in this movie, seeing Pennywise from It randomly in this movie, seeing I'm not supposed to talk about that because it's not the spoiler section, but
I mean, it doesn't matter. The trailer came out, and in the trailer already King Kong, Iron Giant, and a whole bunch of other characters in it, so they know.
All right, they know. But just seeing all of those characters in it, I actually kind of liked, because I was like, okay, who's gonna show up next? Also,
I knew you were going to be positive. I walked in on a positive moment.
I'm getting to the negative though.
You should have started with that. Go on.
The part that I didn't like was how long the basketball of it was, even though I know that's probably weird to say, because the theme of the movie is basketball. But when I saw that the movie was 2 hours long, and then an hour in we were already at the basketball game, I'm like, oh dang, so this basketball game is gonna last an hour.
First of all,
or
Jonathan,
45
that's like
minutes.
most basketball games are 2. So I'm like, in real life.
Well,
this isn't real
life. If you filmed a basketball game and put it out in theaters, would anybody go to watch?
Yes.
Yeah.
People, you know how I know? Because people watch now. I'm watching now. It's the playoffs. It's the finals right now.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay, but listen. This is not. No.
And there are people. I go to a stadium too. That's where you spend, and you wait during the breaks and too. So I mean,
listen,
so people watch it live even longer.
Listen, I completely understand. I am a football fanatic, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I want to watch it in theaters. Okay, when I see a movie poster that has Bugs Bunny, LeBron James, and Daffy Duck on the poster, and I see that it's an hour-long basketball game with them in it, I lose interest. Okay, and that's me.
What you come for? That's Space Jam.
Oh my goodness.
I don't like agreeing with Jerome. We all know this, but he has a point.
So my thing is, when I watch a movie, especially like an action movie, like a superhero movie, and I see that so much of the movie is the action sequence, I tune out. I can't do it. So in this particular sense, when I see that so much of the movie is the basketball game, I tuned out for some of it. So that's my comparison. My attention span cannot focus on these things whirling in the air and people dunking on each other. I can't do it. Okay. If I'm watching a basketball game that's much more simplistic, that doesn't involve creativity points and style points and all that kind of stuff. So my thing is, when I was watching the movie and I got to the hour point and saw that the basketball game was going to be this long, I knew that I was going to tune out. And that's what I did. I don't think that's the most obscene argument that this podcast has seen, and you guys are acting like it is.
What more obscene argument have we ever had?
Squidward is a villain in SpongeBob, or no, Squidward's an anti-hero and SpongeBob's the villain. That's
not
the
getting-
most obscene
or
argument.
what would you do to destroy a city? Apparently death is enough, but a girlfriend cheating on you is. So we're gonna move into
Funny enough, you froze on my screen when you said that, so I only caught that in half of it. But I know what you said. I just
something that's been going through.
It's almost
every
like
episode.
the computer was like, he don't need to hear this right now. He don't need this drama.
So we're moving to the spoiler part now because it's hard to talk about the things that we had issues with when we don't talk about the spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it now. Or if you don't want to watch the movie and you just want to hear us yell.
Funny enough, if you're subscribed to HBO Max, you can watch it for free now and watch another commercial for HBO Max.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. They kept mentioning it too.
They didn't even mention it, but it was just one of those things where it's like, clearly you want to, though. This is like, how can I say I want you to pay for HBO Max without ever telling you to pay for HBO Max? And you get Space Jam too. Well, at least the first hour of it.
But either way, we're going into that section now. So I feel like, Jerome, you have a bit to say, so go ahead.
Okay.
Well, first,
yeah, Jonathan, what's up?
Were you guys expecting Michael B. Jordan to make an appearance in this film?
No.
Yes.
And admittedly, I know, like, I've made the joke too, where it's like, this movie stars Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan? Yeah, Michael B. Jordan. But the reality is that as much as I love Michael B. Jordan, he's a cool dude. Congratulations on your wedding. I hope you're, doing all the things.
Wedding?
Married?
He got married too.
He's getting married to Lori Harvey.
I didn't know they were
I didn't know that. I didn't know he was dating.
Well, I knew they were dating, but I didn't think.
Or are they just dating? They might just be dating.
I thought they were just dating.
I might be tripping.
Anyway,
I'm trying to marry the man off early.
Regardless, I mean, he seems like a cool enough dude. I feel like Lori Harvey's not gonna say no. Anyway, the point is
Look,
that
watch. They're gonna
Michael
listen to
B.
this
Jordan-
podcast and they're gonna be like, "We didn't talk about this. You're trying to marry off early. You're trying to get us married anyway."
Michael B. Jordan is cool guy. He is not the same level of caliber celebrity cameo though as Bill Murray from the original Space Jam. I'm sorry, he's just not. He hasn't gotten there yet, and it's just like I was like, man, I was expecting like
pretty high
better
profile
cameo than Michael B. Jordan. Michael B. Jordan's cool. But Michael B. Jordan's no Bill Murray. Like you gotta have someone Bill Murray level if you want to do a random celebrity cameo in a whole movie filled with nothing but character cameos. Like it waters it down.
also Bill Murray was at the time very prominent in like not only like movies but also in like family films and like younger films. So like kids knew who he was. I doubt children like 12 and down know who really Michael B. Jordan is.
Well, they might because he was in a Marvel movie, but that's probably what they remember him as. They're like, that's Killmonger. Like that's all they know. They don't know.
Great, it's the murderer.
Right.
Yay, the murderer's on screen.
He's the bad guy.
So yeah, he was also in a remake of Fahrenheit 451, which is just boring. It was so bad. But that's not what we're talking about. I figured they'd do that because one, I feel like they had already planned it just in case they couldn't get Michael Jordan. They're like, Michael Jordan's like really retired. He's not messing with anybody or anything, not doing any more advertisings. He's like he's like done. He's like, screw everybody, I'm out. I already made my millions. So I feel like
he probably made a lot on the documentary The Last Dance.
Probably.
Oh yeah. It's on my list. But yeah, that's what I feel like, that they were like, we need this backup. We need this backup. At least there's that like funny name thing going on. We'll have that if we can't get Michael Jordan. We got Michael B. Jordan.
Also, it's baked in because I didn't expect it until I realized, until I remembered Ryan Coogler helped produce this movie and they're like best friends. So So it's like anywhere Ryan Coogler is, Michael B. Jordan is. That's just how it kind of goes. They go as a
Yeah.
2-package deal. Because almost
Yeah.
every movie Ryan Coogler's done stars Michael B. Jordan in some capacity.
Also, really quick, technically, this movie frames LeBron James as a bad father at the beginning. First off, how are you not going to encourage your kids' interests? That's not okay. You should be
I
supportive
think
as
it's
a father.
more, and I think they do a poor job of a stat. Because I'm glad we went to LeBron because that was where I was going to start. Because I'm like, if I have to name one major negative throughout the entire movie, it's LeBron, and that's because I give. As much as I say Michael Jordan can't act, I at least give him a pass because that's not what they asked him to do when they hired him. They were just like, look, you're Michael Jordan. You're an amazing basketball player. We want to help use your celebrity to help our movie. We just want you to come here, play some basketball.
Also, think about the original Space Jam. His story plot was play. That's what you had to do. In this one, it was LeBron James is like save your children, understand and love your children. Yeah, he's an actual.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan was literally like, we're kidnapping you. By the way, that was a straight up kidnapping. They took him from they came out of the doghouse literally and just took him to play basketball. So he didn't need to act. He was doing what he was supposed to be. This was a whole character. He was a crappy dad. And yeah, you're right. During the whole movie, he was kind of a negative because he wants his sons to play basketball. But then it's also like they made his was it his youngest or his oldest son?
His youngest son.
Yeah.
But middle child. Because he has a daughter who's younger than him. In this
which
movie.
they don't really pay any attention. So
He
that's
had
sexist.
2 lines.
Yeah, so great. Sexist too. Thanks.
Well, it's like, I mean, I say negative in that LeBron can't act either.
The thing is, so he did act in Trainwreck, the Amy.
Okay, but here's the thing: he's not
what's
in
her name?
Trainwreck.
100%
of the time.
But he did get rave reviews for that. So I think they were going into this being like, okay, he was in Trainwreck and he got rave reviews for that appearance in Trainwreck. Okay. So he's going to be fantastic in this.
He got rave reviews in Trainwreck is the same reason that in The Mummy, who's the guy who plays Nick Miller on A New Girl? His character got rave reviews
out of The Mummy.
Yeah, Jake Johnson. He got rave reviews. The movie sucked, and they needed to find a positivity. And the best friend or the side character, who's the comedy release as well, who gives the weird knowledgeful sentences once in a while that make you think, the inspirational quotes. That's why he got rave reviews in that movie. Because
I think that movie got Golden Globe nominations or Oscar nominations.
Suicide Squad won an Oscar, Jonathan. That don't mean much in the world of film.
Yeah, not anymore. Once they get certain Oscars,
it was for makeup, but still.
Really?
Yes.
That was bad.
Exactly, makeup.
The point I'm making is they'll give awards to anything if they can find the right excuse to give it to them.
The point was,
Don Cheadle is nominated for an Emmy right now for Falcon and Winter Soldier, a role which he was in 98 seconds of one episode.
Yes, and the category he's nominated for is guest appearance.
Okay, but look at all the people he's nominated with. They at least were in the whole episode of their shows.
And okay, back to the movie. So there is a meta moment in this movie.
Let me jump through this computer screen because Jerome wants to fight tonight.
We'll be there in 3 weeks. You can fight him then. I'll record it. That'd be great.
All
that'd
I'm saying is I want to get this out.
Let me book my Alaska Airlines flight
Jonathan,
early
you
so
talk
I can
about
come over there.
You're talking about LeBron. He was in Trainwreck, but here's the thing: in Trainwreck, like Alex said, he's the comedic relief. All he's got to do is say a few witty lines here and there with Bill Hader, who's playing the straight man. That's easy compared to where you have to carry the whole movie by yourself and be the drama.
Wait,
drama.
1 second.
He was a freaking drawing for half the movie.
Why did you call
and
Bill
still, you
Hader
have the voice. So you
Bill
discredited
Hader
voice
straight?
acting now, Jonathan? You discredited in voice acting, huh?
We have a friend David who does voice acting.
I'm getting words put in my mouth right now. I feel attacked.
Well, at least you're not making fun of the homeless this time.
See, I do not need this narrative right now.
Wait, Jerome, you said Bill Hader played the straight man. Is he not straight in real life?
No,
No.
the straight man is like the character in the film who is like the normal person.
Oh,
Like,
I was like,
yes.
they play that, and yeah.
I mean, I could see that.
Like
Not
sexuality.
Sexuality.
I mean, honestly, if he was not straight, I could see that. He's got top energy going on, but chaotic style. I think Jonathan live. I love Bill Hader.
I really just wanted
He's
an
great.
excuse
He's my
to close
favorite
my
SNL,
blinds.
You lie.
cast member
No,
of mine.
okay, focus. So Space Jam also starts off kind of meta too, because he goes to the Warner Brothers studio to talk about a movie deal. And I feel like, yeah,
Actually, and you missed my first part of this. But when Jerome was saying that he didn't like the HBO Max commercial of it all, I was saying that I did like it. Is because I could see how they were. I mean, I didn't expect going into it that I would see, because I didn't watch any of the trailers or anything, that I would see all of these different characters from all of these different Warner Brothers properties in this movie. And I thought it was kind of cool, because don't we like the crossovers, we like the Avengers, we like the Rugrats Go Wild, we like the That's So Sweet Life of Hannah Montana, we like the
I did like those crossovers. No, I get what.
So I like seeing the characters in there, and it was also cool to see like that the movie the action takes place like 10 minutes from where I live, because I drive past the Warner Brothers studios like all the time.
Well, also, like, you're trying to discourage your son from getting into computer software technology, like stuff like that. So why you bring him to a movie studio?
Well,
For
that's
someone
what you
who's-
do. You know, you just
To
like that'd be
discourage
something
the
if-
child from not going into this field, you bring him to that field?
Well, to be fair, that's not the same. He wants to design video games. This is movies. And also, like, they're there to talk about a movie deal. They're not there to talk about technology. Like, they're as much as they're just going to be like, look, you want to be on camera? That's pretty much it.
Look,
Like,
my
that's
concern is, why is this child not in school?
it's the summer. Because they're saying he's going to basketball camp, so it's summertime. There is no school to go to.
I mean, if he's going to basketball camp, that's still some time between. He still should be in school. I don't know how people go to camp. Anyway, but it's still, but software is software and technology is technology. Even though you're right, there is a difference between video gaming and movie creation, CGI. There's still that link of data and coding and watching the development from what was to it's now. And that can really only like encourage and inspire, because now I'm in a movie set. I can see how like this technology went into this technology, and how even gaming software can develop so advancedly that it can now be used for like movies to almost create this lifelike feel to it. I'm feeling is attempt at what they were doing here, almost like.
That's very confusing, because it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I mean, granted, this is Space Jam. It's never made sense. But
It made sense with Michael Jordan.
No, it didn't. They literally are in the middle of the earth.
They had a rival gang from an outer space. They needed to win. They got Michael Jordan. They won.
This one they got Michael Jordan. This one is the same way, where it's like
the bunny burrowed up from the ground. But this one has like starting off with an AI.
Yeah.
It's
Where
like
they
suddenly
get-
becomes self-aware, which, by the way, that's a huge like fear, I think, in the world.
It's very weird how, because it's like you have Don Cheadle playing Algae Rhythm, or in other words, algorithm. But it's like, okay, wait, the algorithm is an AI in the computer. This technology is far too powerful to just be used for a streaming service. Like this should be used for like helping the military or something. I don't know. Like
there was a robot, I want to say it was in Japan. They built it to distinguish different what is like a pastry or what is a bear claw to like other pastries, and it jumped to, it could detect different types of cancer. So like, sometimes it's like weird, you develop for this and all of a sudden it turns on you and you're like, okay, I guess I guess you're more than just a video game now. I guess we have to do something advanced with you now. I guess
Yeah,
one of
but
those
it's
weird
also
things.
like how it was absorbing people. Like at first, it was like, okay, if you're at the facility, it can scan you and put you in the serververse. And it's like, okay, I guess that kind of makes sense. It's a little wonky, but sci-fi. That sounds cool. Then it becomes then he like steals the sun's technology of like how to scan people's faces and stuff and turns that into the ability to absorb them into the serververse from like far away from their phones. And I'm like, okay, but the power isn't there, right? Like you're at the Warner Brothers lot that has like a bunch of computers and batteries and everything else to do that. How are you doing that with the power of your cell phone?
Also, like another thing that I questioned a lot was like, why, when it became self-aware, did it suddenly just want to play basketball?
I think it's more just they wanted to challenge him at something that LeBron would actually be like good at.
But that was like, so in the original Space Jam, the game was already set. The Looney Tunes, the aliens challenged the Looney Tunes and the Looney Tunes, and they got Michael Jordan for that. This one, it was out of nowhere.
Actually, I just rewatched Space Jam. The Looney Tunes declare the contest. They say it's basketball.
So it's the Looney Tunes is
the Looney Tunes choose basketball because they assume the Monstars, because they're so small, there's no way they could win. They didn't anticipate them stealing like all of the players' like skills to become literal monsters.
All right, they were like roaches or something like that.
Right, they were like super tiny.
This one just starts off with basically Dom getting taken as prisoner, and then the AI, I'm gonna just call it AI. All of a sudden go
algae rhythm. That's just call him out.
Algae, I thought it was Al. I'm gonna go find Al. Just on the orders, assemble a basketball team and play me. But like, why? You're technology. You're holding a child that's into technology, and then all of a sudden you're like, let's play sports. What the hell?
It's Space Jam. That's why.
I'm just saying there could have been like a better transition. It's just a weird jump, and
there's a lot of jumps you have to make in this movie. I'll give you that. There's a lot of leaps in this that you just have to kind of just roll with to just go along and get along. Especially with the serververse. That was the one where I'm like, it. You know why I think it's not necessary and feels like a different movie is because nothing regarding the serververse ever affects the movie. It's just cameos for the sake of cameos. Because I mean, one thing if they're like
they travel through all the Warner Brothers properties,
right? But it's like nothing happens where it's like, oh, because we went to except for one thing, and that's when Granny uses like her Matrix powers because she was in the Matrix. Past that, the fact that Wile E. Coyote was in Mad Max, not important. The fact that Daffy was in the DC universe, not important. Lola being in Amazon, not important. Like none of that stuff affects the game of basketball when we get to the end because they're just like, just be Looney Tunes. And I'm like, we could have been Looney Tunes the whole time. Why are we here? Oh, so you can sell more properties because you need more subscribers for HBO Max. Okay, that makes sense.
That was their we have to get the gang back together again. They're all in these different worlds, so we have to compile the group together again. The same old formula that you see in every movie where you got to get the gang back together again. They're all off doing their own different things.
It just feels, I don't know, it felt a bit contrived to do just because, and I only say it because it's like, it's Warner Brothers made this movie. So it'd be one thing if like, because a lot of people have been comparing this movie to Ready Player One. But Ready Player One, the difference is that Ready Player One, like the fact that people are all these different characters is to help flesh out the world and help make it feel more real. That like in a world where like, if it's our world where all these game characters and pop culture references have existed, like, yeah, if we had a virtual reality where we could be anybody, yeah, we'd probably be Batman or we'd be Master Chief from Halo or Ryu from Street Fighter. Like we'd be those characters because those are our favorite characters. So it makes sense. here, like it just feels like references to me. I don't know. That just to me personally, it just feels like references for the sake of references without it really having serving that much of a purpose for the plot. Even if it is to like excuse why the Looney Tunes are off, I feel like there's 1,000 other reasons you could have came up with for where the Looney Tunes are, that they're not all in Looney Town at the same time. Or you could have used that hour to also just have fun jokes and stuff, kind of like the first Space Jam. First Space Jam, I looked up the runtime. It's only an hour and 40 minutes. So they use that time pretty well to like still have the Looney Tunes have stuff to do.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, Jonathan. And I get that whole like you split up and you go to your own, you spread out. I think what would help that like little time frame would have been like LeBron James being like, "Hey, let's get the squad together," and then Bugs is like, "Well, we're not all really in one place. Like, what happened? Like, oh, nobody cared about the Looney Tunes anymore, so we ventured out on our own." And that would kind of explain more and maybe show like the sad, empty world of Looney Tunes. Have some heart in it. Instead, like they automatically start jumping to these different worlds, and it just kind of feels like you're just showing off properties of what Warner Brothers still has. Which, frankly, is not as much as we think. Warner's is going to be bought by Disney in any moment, and that's what I feel like is a little different. Kind of what like I would say would have created such a more authentic feel to it, to be like, yeah, they're in the other realities because time change. Nobody wants to watch the Looney Tunes anymore. Ooh, I hit my computer. Nobody wants to watch Looney Tunes anymore. Like Animaniacs. They were trapped in the water tower for so long, and nobody thought about them. Nobody cared about them until that water tower got kicked over. And it's just like that. What happened to Looney Tunes? Everybody forgot about the Toon World. So Tunes, went on their own way. My whole thing with the movie was just LeBron in this movie is kind of a dick. Like, he's
that's the point.
Say,
that's the lesson he has to learn throughout the journey, is that he should let his son be himself.
They needed to give him something to learn and change by the end of it.
Mm-hmm. Like he has to learn that he has to let his son be his own person. He can't make his son himself, or he can't live vicariously through his son, and he can't make his son be him. He has to let his son just be who he is. That's the lesson to be learned.
But it's the same lesson. I mean, what is it? The Lego Movie did that. There's so many movies like that. Like, just be a good parent. Support your child.
There's only so many like stories, Alex. Sometimes you're gonna see them be recycled. It's just about how you tell them. And unfortunately, this movie don't tell it very well.
It just feels like that overplayed plot and then crammed references, and yeah, that's all I got from this film was like LeBron's dick and not a good father, which I feel like bad saying because I don't know his home life. He has kids in him.
I will argue. You could argue that it's not that they weren't. Sorry, I'm.
No, go for it.
This is kind of off topic, but you could it's back to another topic that we were talking about. You could kind of argue that it's not particularly an ad for HBO Max because, as we know, like HBO Max, they decided that due to the pandemic, they would release like their stuff on streaming. And had the pandemic not happened, we might have not gotten this movie on streaming. And this movie was actually filmed pre-pandemic. It wrapped in March of last year. And it started filming in like June of 2019. So by then, they didn't even know that they were going to be releasing all their movies on HBO Max. So they probably were just pimping Warner Brothers to pimp Warner Brothers.
It would still be a commercial because HBO Max was in the works for a while. And it would still, even if you just saw this in theaters, which it is in theaters, by the way, it'd still basically feel like, okay, you watch this in theaters, but if you go to HBO Max, you can watch the rest of this stuff. You want to watch Game of Thrones? HBO Max. Rick and Morty? HBO Max. Insert HBO Warner Brothers property here, HBO Max.
Well, Jonathan's right. Actually, if you watch a lot of their movies on HBO Max, they have that like, hey, look at what we have over here. They take off focus for like a second, and be like, hey, also look at this. It's connected with this, and then kind of move forward. So I think like Jonathan's right. I don't think they were prepared for it to be actually streaming until the pandemic hit, and they're like, oh damn, we don't have time
Oh
to
no,
take out this
yeah, I'm sure they didn't. I'm just saying, like, it still feels, what's the word?
Product placement, like
yeah, it feels like just staunch product placement.
They held up
Only because it's just like, it'd be one thing if they had stuff from other studios, then I'd be like, okay, yeah, no, they're just making references for the sake of making references. But the fact that it's all Warner Brothers, they go to a Warner Brothers studio lot, they like talk to Warner Brothers executives, like this is anything Warner, it feels like they're trying to sell you something. Even
if
though
you drive past the Warner Brothers lot, there's a huge Space Jam poster like off the side of the building. And it's like you cannot miss it.
Well, if you think about it, it was pretty right before HBO Max was not popular until after the pandemic. So they were trying to sell you something. Nobody wanted HBO Max because they're like, well, I have all these other streaming services. Why do I need HBO Max? Like, what does it matter? And then HBO Max was like, oh, well, pandemic, we're going to stream everything. And then everybody's like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I want HBO Max. So I get why they're like being pushy. I just feel like this movie was also like 3 movies in one, with the algorithm, then the cartoon, and then they moved to like the, pretty new, the pretty new style. And it was like, why do you need to keep going? Like, is this, are they in like, because the regular Space Jam, I'm going to call it the regular one, was like just in like space or the core of the earth, was it?
Yeah, the word Space Jam made sense because it takes place in space.
Yeah,
and it's in reference to kind of like NBA Jam, which was a popular game.
So it was they were fighting aliens too. This one, they're in the computers. They're in
like a computer, basically.
They're in the computers.
In the Warner Brothers studios.
In the serververse.
I'm not
Warner
saying
Brothers
that.
Studios.
They're in the computers. So like this isn't even Space Jam. This is all like basically virtual reality. Honestly, somebody could have just like, I don't know, turned the on and off button on out, and like we could have avoided this whole thing. Yeah.
The thing is something. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jonathan, because I've talked.
I was just gonna say something really interesting, real quick. I just looked this up. A sequel was planned as early as 1996, but Michael Jordan didn't sign on to star in a sequel, so it got scrapped. But then several potential sequels, including Spy Jam with Jackie Chan, Race Jam with Jeff Gordon, and a golf-centered film with Tiger Woods, and Skate Jam with Tony Hawk were all discussed but never came to be.
I would have totally watched Skate Jam. Race Jam kind of sounds a little offensive. It has that vibe of like, do you really want to go there though? However, Skate Jam, I love Tony Hawk. He's like the coolest dad. That's like his whole vibe. He's a cool dad. He's not gonna buy you beer, but like you can drink at his house because like he'd rather you drink there than drive. Anyway, I think those would have been cool.
I would give a big shout out also, like, because now moving into the game though, like the actual game part of Space Jam. I don't know what you're talking about, Jonathan. I loved every second of it. Maybe that's my love for basketball just in general, so I have a bit of a bias because I do enjoy basketball, and getting back into watching the playoffs and the finals has like reinvigorated my love of the game and watching it. Love that they actually had the players play this time. Last Space Jam movie, they just stole the powers from the players, which you got to see them. You got the cameos, of course, of like Charles Barkley and all those guys. But I do love that this time around, they actually get to be a part of the movie and actually got to do like some of the mocap and everything. And those people were Anthony Davis, Klay Thompson, Damian Lillard, Diana Taurasi, and
Stu
I
Bird.
sorry if I pronounce your name, but Neka Agwamake or Agomake. I'm
And
sorry
Sue
if I
Bird.
mispronounced your name. Sue Bird too, but Sue Bird doesn't actually. She's in the movie, but she's not like one of the. Because that's
I
the
thought
Goon
she was.
Squad.
I thought Sue
No,
Bird was the worm thing, the snake
no,
woman.
that was Diana Taurasi. Sue Bird's just
Oh,
in the movie. She's in that scene when like Dom is like talking to all the basketball players because Draymond Green's also there, and he's also not one of the um, Goon Squad. But I love the shout out to the WNBA.
oh yeah, that's
though.
right.
We got 2 WNBA players and 2 who are like dominating right now. I'm surprised they didn't pick Sue Bird because Sue Bird is also solid player. But nonetheless, loved all the shout outs to basketball. That was cool. But also the game was fun. I liked that this time around the game made more sense as far as like allowing the Looney Tunes to do what they do. Cause the first movie is supposed to be like a straight up basketball game. And the Monstars, like in the first, like I guess half or whatever, play the game legit. Like they're just dunking and shooting over the Looney Tunes. They play actual basketball. And then the Looney Tunes start getting the head up when they start cheating, like putting dynamite on the court and stuff. This time around, it makes more sense because style points and creativity is a part of the game. So it makes sense for the Tunes to kind of just do their Looney
I
Tune
hated
thing.
that they did that. That they put in style and creativity points.
Admittedly, though, it does make the point seem ridiculously like not make no sense.
It was just like, again, you're supposed to play that. You're supposed to play the game. Why are you like? They just. I feel like they just made things more ridiculous for the purpose of being ridiculous. Because like
But
they're
that's
gonna.
hold on. Last review, you said you love Sharknado because it's completely ridiculous and makes no sense. How can you get mad at this movie for being ridiculous?
Because they tried to make sense. As you say, Sharknado didn't have a plot. This is having a plot. So they should be able to understand what they're doing.
It doesn't have a plot. Space Jam. It's simple as
It's
that.
not even Space Jam. They're not in space.
They're not in space, but you know what I
They're
mean.
not having
It's a Space Jam
It's
movie.
not even a real
The
basketball
Looney Tunes
game.
are just gonna do their Looney
There's no
thing on the
point.
court, and that's what's gonna happen. It happened in the last Space Jam movie. It's happening in this Space Jam movie. It's
Yeah,
Space
but
Jam.
like no, wait. The first Space Jam went a like Harlem Globetrotter style. All right, you knew what was gonna happen. This one literally gave them points for putting dynamite in their pants.
There's
At
a
least it
scene
was
in the first Space Jam movie where Yosemite Sam and Elmer
No, I'm
Fudd
not saying
shoot
that
the
didn't
teeth out of
happen.
the Monstars. That's not legal on any court.
I'm not saying that was legal. I'm saying they didn't get points for it though.
They did because they allowed them to score the basket.
But it wasn't for style and creativity. They did add extra categories. It's like they added extra categories to stack the deck for them.
Y'all are arguing about the technicality of this movie.
I'm just saying, like I'm
The
saying,
basketball
like
I'm just
it makes,
saying,
like the basketball.
you know what?
In
Yeah,
this
but like the
makes more
monsters were
sense for them
also
to do
No,
those
the
ridiculous
best-
things than the last movie. I'll give it
no,
that.
it made sense because they were cartoons fighting aliens. This is some weird like computer.
Now they're
game.
cartoons fighting monster creatures
They're,
on a computer,
they're
mind
not
you, but
even-
still.
They're not cartoons. They're like CGI
Listen,
now.
They're
And like
3D
now
cartoons, it's the
they're
same
like-
thing.
it's
If you
not,
consider
though.
Jimmy Neutron a cartoon, it's the same thing.
I did not use an animation.
That's what a cartoon is. It's animation.
Jonathan, what
Exactly.
your
I would
thoughts?
have-
Exactly.
I would have. No, I would.
Not
I might
starting to-
actually cartoon. When I think of cartoon, I think of hand drawn or like 2D animation. And then when you think of when you say animated film, that can mean a myriad of things. But anyway, I'm not going to get into the technical aspect. For me, I did not. I feel like I'm being misrepresented here. I did not.
Was it the homeless thing?
I did not hate the basketball scene. I just got a little bored by it towards the end. Yeah, I didn't need that long of the basketball game. I don't care what anybody says. Even remember the Titans, they got dialogue in there. Okay, it's not just the football
There's a
game.
whole halftime middle part of the dialogue. In fact, literally, there's a whole point in the basketball game where the whole game stops for LeBron and his son to have a moment where LeBron and his son,
Right,
where
and I
LeBron
love
actually
that.
admits, okay,
That's when
but
I
what
was
are you talking about?
awake.
It's you
That's
acting
when I
like
was
there's not
awake.
dialogue in between the basketball game.
That's when I was awake. That's when I was like, he was like, all right, okay, I'm switching teams. I'm joining the Toon Squad.
That's also like another thing. It's like you're in the middle of a game and now you're going to talk to your son.
Yeah, it was weird. I was like, I'm sorry, are we not playing basketball? Like, why are we spending time?
I wanted some more of that, okay?
No. It's just
I wanted some more father
in
and
the
son
middle of
time.
the game, though. Like that's something you maybe should have done at halftime when like nobody was playing and there's not going to be a buzzer in 5 seconds.
And also, like when the whole stake of Warner Brothers isn't on your back, like right now, it's not the time.
And not only
Also-
Warner Brothers, the whole stake of the entire world, because everybody who tuned in was also at that point at risk of being stuck in the serververse if they didn't win.
Also, Gabriel Iglesias was Speedy Gonzalez,
Yes, he was. I thought that was really
In
cool.
this.
Zendaya played
Lola Bunny.
Lola Bunny.
Also, shout out to some of the other like human cameos. Steven Yeun. I wasn't expecting at all.
Is
I
he
like
a
Yeah,
cameo?
I
He's
was
not
on
playing
screen.
himself. He's playing like an actual character. He's just like you didn't expect to see him. I guess does that technically count?
He wasn't
think
in there
it
very
counts as a
long.
cameo.
It's cameo because he's like kind of popping in. He may be somebody else, but it's more like I look at Steven to then like, oh, he's playing this character. It was more of a like, hey, look, he's there. Look at him.
Right. Rosario Dawson was Wonder Woman. Lil Rel, I wasn't expecting him to be in here either. Sarah Silverman, I didn't expect. So I always like when I don't
figured
expect
Sarah
somebody to
Silver.
be in a movie.
I wasn't surprised she was in there. She like
Yeah,
she has that like vibe that she would be in. But
That she would be in Space Jam too.
she would totally be in Space Jam too.
I admit though, the movie is fun. It just like when it hits the basketball part, it's still fun for me. I think it just had the only part that I was like cringing at, and I was like, no, this isn't working for me. Is the Porky Pig rap? I was like, all
I
right.
loved that. I ate all of that up. He was hitting them too. And when he dropped the mic with that's all, folks, and he slid it in there perfectly, I was like, yes. And can we talk about the soundtrack real quick? Because I actually liked
That
the
Kirk
music in
Franklin
this.
song was really funny. That made me laugh.
So
Not because it
so
was
at
bad.
the-
It's just one of those things where I was just like, is that Kirk Franklin? And
yeah, that's the song that they've been like promoting the movie with. They've like performed that
Really?
song at award
I mean,
shows
it's a
with
good song. I
everything.
like it. It's cool. It's catchy.
And when it played in the credits, I had the sound on loud, and you just hear the choir like, ah, and my dog like jumped up, and he was like doing the head tilt and everything.
It's like, what is that?
He got
What
scared.
are these humans
yeah.
doing now?
I like the soundtrack. It's kind of cool. I will say, I think if R. Kelly wasn't who he was, they probably would have played I Believe I Can Fly in this like they did the first Space Jam movie. But you know what? I'm glad they cut it. It's just like, no, Kirk Franklin, we need as much Jesus as we can coming off of that. Come on in. Come on in here. Bring the choir. We need it. Come on. Come on over.
So much for that. Also, with the song, I Believe I Can Play, there was also that moment where, they have that moment, that jump shot. They didn't have that, like, feel of that
like climactic moment.
Yeah, that moment. The climactic moment was his son deciding, I'm gonna go with my dad.
Yeah, the
And
jump
I'm
shot
gonna-
wasn't as dramatic as the Michael Jordan, arm stretch.
Yeah, that was like
in
a
the
whole
first movie.
that like photo lives on, and that was like an actual like, and it was a basketball moment too. So it was like in with the game. The climactic moment was the son being like, "Yeah, I'm part of the Toon Squad now." It's like, "Oh, you're joining your dad's side, and you're doing sports."
Here's the thing though. It's like he joins his dad's side. He's got all them stats, but he don't actually play. Or does he? Does he play with them after that, or is he just on the bench cheering his dad on?
He can't play.
See, I told you this is why the basketball scene was so long. You don't even remember. I told you.
No, I'm just saying, like.
I mean, he's not wrong. I don't recall if he does or does not play.
Maybe
Well,
it
I'm
was
saying
more of a
because like
symbolic
he
thing.
upped all
like,
of his stats. Remember, he
Oh.
upped all his stats to be like one of the best basketball players of all time.
maybe
in
it
the
was
game.
more of maybe it was more of a symbolic thing. Like, I'm gonna be with you guys, but y'all will be on your own.
Also, can we talk about Bugs Bunny's arc too in this, where it just seems, I don't know, I just wasn't as into it. I think I love the message behind it, where he's like, "Hey, just be yourself." That's pretty much.
Always be yourself.
I just want to know how I thought how he came back to life was kind of a cop out.
I did too. I was like, wait, did he die? And then he's just
right.
randomly just in the real world. And I was like, I'm sorry, aren't you dead?
Right.
How'd you get here?
I thought he wasn't gonna die because he like technically didn't complete the move. Like LeBron had to like complete it for him. Because he passed it to LeBron. He did the move and then it was short. So LeBron had to pick it up from there. So I thought that was the cop out, like that he wasn't going to die because of that. But then he ended up dying, and then he just came back to life. And he's like, "Oh, I could never die," or whatever he said.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, they can't kill Bugs Bunny.
Right.
Elmer Fudd literally spent his whole life attempting that. By the way, attempted murder. I just like how it's real. In the end, the big symbolism or the big moment is going from you're going to basketball camp to now I'm dropping you off a game design camp. By the way, what is with all these camps?
Camps exist.
Well, game design camp.
Yes.
Y'all gonna be inside though.
That when his summers when he was a kid, he would go to like gaming camp. Yeah.
It's not gaming. You look. It's not camp. That's not camp. You're not going outside. You're not doing shit outside. No, what you're doing is basically lessons and learning. That's a summer school style thing. Call it what you want. You're going back to school. You're getting ahead of us. Not a problem. You're going to
game design school. Doesn't have the same appeal though.
It is what
we got to call it camp.
But it's always everything's always a camp, and I'm like,
well, a training camp sometimes isn't always outside either, depending on the force. You know.
Oh, so, like space camp.
Space camp, right? And even in training, like actual training for astronauts, they don't go outside. Everything they do is inside because all their instruments need to replicate what it's like to be in space.
It's training.
Okay,
not
but
really
it's
camp.
Training.
It's still training.
Camp. It's called camp at the end of it.
They don't really call it training camp though. They just call it training. You're just trying to add camp,
but it's called training camp. That's what it is. No different than boot camp. It's called
boot camp. They're outside. They're running.
They don't camp outside. They stay in a actual like building. They're only outside to actually just be outside, and then they come back into a building to sleep.
One of these days,
shower, everything.
My eyes are gonna get stuck.
All right, I'm just saying, if you're hung up on that technicality for game design camp, there's a lot of other things that
at least they go outside a little bit.
And
at least they go outside a little bit. This is just you're literally
gonna roll your eyes so hard we're just gonna see the whites like for permanently.
Point is, this movie wasn't the title it was, but it was honestly what I expected going into it for me. I'm just gonna move forward because I'm done with both of you.
I do.
You're encouraging, Jonathan. You're incorrigible. I thought for me this movie was exactly what I thought it would be. and I'm such a big also Michael Jordan fan. Growing up in Chicago and everything, I used to love going to those games and stuff. Um, and I felt like even though it was a weird plot, the Space Jam, the original, made sense. They had a storyline they were going with. This one was kind of all over the place. The lesson learned at the
what do you
lesson was
think?
family at the
Oh,
end.
what do you think they should have called it if they didn't call it Space Jam?
Literally anything else would have been fine. I don't know. I mean, they could have gone with like Space Jam, virtual games. Don't go New Legacy. New Legacy seems like you're bringing in a whole different crew, and like
It is.
all
It's
this.
LeBron and his son. They ain't the same.
Yeah, but his son is not actually part of the crew. He's part of like the management team. If we're going into that, where he's doing like stats and looking at all that stuff. So he's not actually like part of the actual crew. He's in the management team. Like it's just a lot about like family, be yourself, this isn't about protecting the world. This is like I need to make up with my son whether the world ends or not. No, you need to focus on the game. I'm sorry, but in my life and your, I don't care about your son. All right, I need to survive. I've already survived too much to be going out in some stupid way because you want to learn a life lesson.
Listen,
At the worst time in the middle game.
Don't you like the Fast and Furious movies? Those are all about family.
I like the cars.
They say it every movie. Family.
It's the family you make. When it comes to actual blood families, I don't give a shit. And that is some trauma from my past right there. Go ahead.
I guess we're getting into our like final thoughts now and grades. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was very silly. Obviously, I liked all the references to all of the Warner Brothers properties, and I enjoyed seeing all of the Looney Tunes characters on screen. I would like to see in the future Skate Jam with Tony Hawk, so I hope they are penning that now.
I think he's too old. He probably doesn't feel like it.
He still skates. What are you talking about?
No, he does still skate, but I'm talking about to do a whole movie of skating. That's a lot of work. That's a lot.
They should do one with Simone Biles. I don't know what they would call it, but one
Jim Jam.
Jim Jam. Jim Jam. There we go.
I'm not encouraging.
Hear the song now. Also, think of the song. They started playing the old school Space Jam, and I was so excited. I was like, oh, snap, is that the old school Space Jam theme? And then as soon as the remix started coming in with the subs and the rapping, and I was like, you ruined it. You ruined it. You couldn't let me have one thing. You couldn't let me have that. You just had to take that too.
That's also what I was annoyed about this movie. It didn't let you have the nostalgic feel. It kept ripping it out from underneath you.
The Monstars are the only thing that shows up in this movie that's from the original Space Jam.
Yeah, I thought they would have many more callbacks to the original. I thought they would reference like what happened in the original, but according to them, like it never happened. The only reference really is that, and here's the Michael Jordan joke, but that's about it.
In the Monstars, you see them for like one frame, like a couple frames.
You
like the little bug Monstars after they lose, or after the Goon Squad loses.
Yeah, but you can't even really say it that much because it was like a couple frames, and I was like, I guess they're still alive. Didn't they get squished at the end?
Well, no, they're still around. But the thing is that you know what it might be? It might be because in the first Space Jam, the Looney Tunes just exist in our world. It just so happens to be like under the planet or something, like, or like underground, and they just dig and make it to our world. Versus, in this,
here they are
in a computer.
Like,
so maybe it did happen, but it happened in real life, and then like this movie takes place in the computer. I don't know. But then
Bugs Bunny comes in at the end. Then Bugs Bunny comes in at the end in LeBron James' real life.
Yeah,
so it was
the computer. So it's confusing. Yeah. What's your grade, Jonathan?
I'm gonna give it a B minus. I feel like that's the lowest grade I've given in like the past like 5 reviews, but
Yeah, probably.
yeah, it's gonna be a B. It's gonna be a B minus. Actually, Sharknado, I gave less than that, but
Alex, I don't know if you have more to say, but I was gonna ask your grade.
No, I don't have more to say. I've said all I can about this movie. Apparently, they're thinking about making a Space Jam 3. I'm reading that now, and they want Dwayne Johnson to be in it. Why?
Wait,
How?
what?
I don't
What-
know.
what
It's
would
a
he-
little. I don't know. And I'm not.
They need to
further.
continue with the. They need to continue with the like. And granted, he is an athlete, like technically, but like they need to go with the athlete thing, someone who's known for being an athlete,
Maybe they should move away from basketball.
right?
Like, pick up
Or
another
Spy
sport.
Jam, Jackie Chan.
I would
that
still
was-
watch that. I like Tony Hawk or Jackie Chan one. I give this movie like a solid C, because I did enjoy seeing the Looney Tunes character. I like seeing them in their various worlds. I wish they kind of gave more detailing about that or showed a little more of that. I thought that was fun. The all around plot, just it felt like there was multiple things, multiple movies going on at once, and they weren't really connecting in the way I think they had anticipated. Because they try to use that framing of like, oh, father and son, butting heads, and then everything works out at the end, and like kind of cover it up with like, oh, Looney Tunes and the algorithm and this and that on top of it to kind of like, but it didn't blend the way I think they wanted it to blend. And the fact that they kind of took away all the nostalgic, which would have been great for like, especially people our age, like 30s and a little bit higher, and just the millennial area. Let's get there. It would have been great because we love nostalgia right now. The world sucks. We need nostalgic moments. We need those little happy moments. We're like, oh yeah, they gave us none of that. They took it away. Yeah. So and like,
Yeah, Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I feel like going along with that. I feel like when they announce these sequels for these beloved, iconic movies that we love, we're all excited at first. We're like, oh shoot. Well, not everybody. Some people are just like, stop. Hollywood's out of ideas. But a lot of people are like, oh yeah. But a lot of people are like, oh yes, awesome. This is gonna be. And then when it eventually comes out, people either don't care or it's like, oh, that was cute. That was whatever, or that was trash, whatever. Like I'm thinking of Coming to America or Space Jam or whatever, these things, and I'm trying to find out like what the disconnect is.
The disconnect is that it's clearly not made with passion. It's made for money. So therefore, the effort and the like,
but the idea of Space Jam 2 has been a constant idea, and the fact that they try to, I get what they're doing with the family thing. They're trying to make it more warm. But the whole thing was whether it was written with passion or not, or with this actually wanting to be something that was connected. I think they were trying to make it to basically modern, because the original one was a cartoon and our universes mixing together. It was like Roger Rabbit, that Roger Rabbit movie, and there was one with Brad Pitt too.
Cool World.
Yeah, and there was actually the Looney Tunes movie where they had the cartoons, and it was the acknowledgement: you're a cartoon, you're not real, you're in my world. I don't know how this is, but we're going to roll with it. This one totally was like, this is a completely fake world, digitized. Everybody has computers. You can get sucked in. Spooky. They tried to modernize it too much instead of just having the whole, you're not real. Well, technically we kind of are. Whether it's computerized, hologram, like we're not going to go ahead, like none of those movies were like, we're not going to go ahead and explain how this actually works. Just trust us. We're real. Moving on. This one had to go through the whole explanation, and they just tried to, like I said, they're just trying to modernize it too much. Yeah, they were just trying to explain too much, and they were trying to be like, hey, it's computers, don't think about it. Hey, computers are advancing now, algorithms a thing. We have to develop all this. But in the end, dude, you could have just unplugged the computer.
Yeah, but
Like
people
somebody-
they would have been stuck in the computer then, probably. I just
Oh
thought about
no,
that.
LeBron James and his son dies, but the whole world is
First of
saved.
all, let me tell you something. There's some Laker fans that would be furious if LeBron was just off the planet and he was not going to show up till next year's season. I'm telling you that right now.
I'm just saying
they would want LeBron to come back.
Just saying, Michael Jordan, had he not played, Looney Tunes would have lost. Whole world would have wiped out. This one is just you unplug the computer, everybody else is safe. All right, we lose 2 people.
Well, I mean, the stakes in this one were if they lose, Looney Tunes are deleted. LeBron is trapped in a computer forever, along with his son. And thanks to the server being like, you know, a live stream or whatever, who knows how many people, countless amounts of people as well, being trapped in a computer forever. Their consciousness
the
never to be seen
Wi-Fi.
again.
Cut the Wi-Fi.
I don't know if that would have worked.
Yeah, because
the science in this is very flimsy. I don't know how it works.
That's
like,
the whole
I'm not
thing.
saying that as like
they try to bring it
legit.
into like the updated technology, but y'all didn't think about stuff like that. Just disconnect the Wi-Fi. My stuff stops downloading the moment I disconnect my Wi-Fi. It's, you know what? That's how, if I send a stupid text, I'll just like put my phone on airplane mode and then I can delete the text. There's a lot of stuff. When the cartoons are just in your world, you're like, hey, what the fuck? I can't do anything now. So that's why I'm giving this a C. They tried to make it too modern, but you can't go too modern when you're just dealing with cartoons and animation. You can't try to make so much sense of it. If they're here in this world, then you're like, okay, you're here. Moving on. But like at the same time, I did enjoy the basketball scene. I got annoyed by the whole extra point settings. But I think it's a movie I'm not going to be like, I regret watching. But I'm not going to go watch it again. And I'm not going to be like, you have to see it. If you see it, you'll probably get a little mad. I'm not gonna lie. But still, I say a solid C for me. But what about you,
Jerome? What's your grade?
It's a C for me as well. My reasonings though are vastly different. I think this movie, when it is Space Jam, it is Space Jam. It is fun. It's ridiculous. Like they are just like the Looney Tunes just do their thing and have wacky antics and jokes going on when they're playing basketball, just like the first Space Jam, where you got
except they're not in actual space.
Regardless, still, that's what makes Space Jam is Looney Tunes mixed with the game of basketball. That's at its core basics. That's Space Jam, regardless. But the things that drag this down are definitely just the commercialism. Good God, the commercialism in this movie.
You're really stuck on that.
It drags this movie down because it's unnecessary. If you cut out the first chunk of this movie, the first full hour, and just skipped immediately to like it like started at Bugs Bunny being like, we got to get the gang back together, and cut to they're together, you would not miss anything. The game would be, you would go right to the basketball game and you would not need to know any other information because nothing that happened in that first hour affects anything that happens in the second. Past just.
But then you wouldn't know why they playing the game in the first place.
I said after he meets Bugs Bunny. Before that, you already know why he's playing the game. There's all that scene with Algie Rhythm telling LeBron the stakes and everything. It's already there. And actually, before they start playing the basketball game, he explains it again for everybody in the audience. So you would still know anyway. So you do not need that. The fact that there's a whole hour of this movie that's unnecessary to the plot and is only there to sell you HBO Max, that weighs the movie down heavy. On top of the fact.
But how they gonna sell me HBO Max when I'm watching it on HBO Max?
Because it was originally supposed to be on
that's
HBO
not
Max,
for you,
remember?
all right? They did like
that was actually your point too, Jonathan.
That was my point.
Hey, they sell that to the people in the theaters right now. The point is that also, like on top of that, not only that, but also, I'm sorry, LeBron. I think on the court, you were dominating factor. In the court of acting, you need some classes, brother. Like, if this is what you plan on doing after you retire from basketball, because I think he has the talent when it comes to the comedy stuff. He's got that down. He knows how to kind of work that timing. It's the drama stuff he needs to still work on, and that stuff's hard. That takes time to get that.
I think what it is I think they should have made him into more of a character, like a straight-laced character, rather than trying to have him be like quote unquote normal, if that makes any sense. Like they should have gone further with making him more of a character, if that makes sense, more of a character actor rather than trying to act as if he's a normal dad.
Well,
if that makes any sense.
I think the thing also is that the first Space Jam, the reason why Michael Jordan works in that movie is because ironically he doesn't, like, he's not an actor, and when he tries to act, it's awful. Like on an objective level, it's awful, but it works for that movie because it's like in your mind, and it's why Space Jam's become a cult classic, is because it's like, it's Michael Jordan. Like, he's not an actor. So it feels authentic because he's not trying to act like, you know, this and like it's an actual movie. He's just like, look, I'm here to say lines. Let me hold the script. Man, this is crazy, Bugs. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like that's the amount of level and energy he's giving. But it works because you're just like, I'm just watching Michael Jordan on screen. I know he's here to play basketball. It fits the tone. LeBron is trying to act and play a character, like a character version of himself, but nonetheless, he's trying to play a character, and it doesn't always work very well. And that also, for me personally, brings the movie down. But I still had fun in that last hour of the movie. I thought it was fun. I love the references to basketball players as well as the references. I do like the references to the stuff from Warner Brothers. I just wish it mattered more than just it's here and that's it. I think if it mattered more, that would have been awesome. And then I would be like, all right, cool. Like, this is like a part of the movie. This is Space Jam as we know it now, is what it is. But overall, like Alex said, also, I'm probably never gonna watch this again. I don't think this is gonna have the cult classic appeal that the first Space Jam did. I know this movie has been in the works for a long time. Just like hearing constant news about Space Jam 2. So to see it finally come through is like, all right, cool. It's finally out. But honestly, I kind of wish they would have just made it just a straight normal Space Jam movie where it's just the Looney Tunes and just LeBron. No Matrix.
But when you think about it,
Thrones, no Iron Giant.
When you think about it, Warner Brothers, low-key, they always been selling their own stuff. Because if you think about it, Animaniacs, that's that whole show.
Yeah, but that's the point of the show. That's right. The show. Space Jam, it'd be one thing if this was the first Space Jam movie. If this was the first Space Jam movie, it'd be like, okay, this is what Space Jam is. Because it's the second and we have something to compare it to, we know that they just did this on purpose because they didn't have to. We have a whole movie that has nothing to do with Warner Brothers that is Space Jam, and it is still just as fun.
But who was the first movie made by?
Jonathan, the first Spider-Man movie was made by Sony. What's that? Did you see every single second of every single moment of all three of those movies? They have to tell you to use a Sony product? Is that what you're telling me?
If you go to the Oxford Dictionary right now and look up Space Jam, it ain't in there. There isn't no definition of Space Jam, so you cannot gatekeep what Space Jam is. Okay.
What is space? It's outer space. It's just.
And what is jam? Music in motion.
I hate both of you. I just hate both of you right now.
The point is, and it's also, also made from fruits to be put on sandwiches. The point is, is that.
And it's also stuff you find in your toes.
That's also true.
That's the stuff I find in my toes. What are you doing, Jonathan? You need to start wearing.
I said yo toes.
You, if that's coming to your mind, then you need to start wearing sandals or something. Get some air in there.
The point is that Space Jam is just Looney Tunes, insert popular basketball player. That's Space Jam. Not like Looney Tunes, insert favorite basketball player, and 1,000 other movies that have nothing to do with Space Jam.
I will say a remake or a reboot or whatever you want to call this movie, it can be done successfully and create a new cult classic. Because technically, The Mummy from 1999 was a remake or a reboot or whatever you want to call it of The Mummy of 1959. And they had a successful sequel as well, The Mummy 2. They did not have a successful third movie. We don't really talk about maybe third one. But it can be done. But
yeah, but this ain't it.
but I'm saying that because people are always like, well, you can never have a cult classic from a cult classic. The Mummy, the 1959, is one of the original like horror monsters creature films, and then they remade it, The Mummy in 1999. So it can be done. It's all about how you do it, though. This took away. They stuck to The Mummy. They went to Egypt. They went to the different locations of where you would find a mummy.
Yeah, but it's like
This
an
one-
action movie compared to the first one, which is more of like a horror film. Like they did change.
They changed it,
genre.
but they stuck
Yeah.
with what was going on. This one did not stick with it. They like, all right, say with the computers and everything, fine, you could go with that. But then nothing is in outer space. They're not fighting the aliens. It's not actually that real of a threat compared to like the whole world being incinerated to, I'm sorry, 1,000 people losing their lives. Like the threats.
It was definitely not 1,000. It was way more than that.
You keep saying that, and I don't believe you anymore. I don't.
It's because it's
the fact that
LeBron James. People in other countries who don't even watch basketball know who LeBron James is.
I want to know how those flight attendants got Wi-Fi on the plane. Well,
That was actually a
They probably
good
got
point.
the-
I was like, y'all got solid Wi-Fi where y'all can just
Right.
get,
No, you
get the
can-
game.
'cause
You
I know,
pay
you
for
can-
it.
right, you could pay for it, but usually it ain't that good.
It
So
ain't
when
that
you doing a
solid
live-
though of a connection.
Right.
Also, real quick, because there's a controversy around this movie, and I want to address it because I feel like y'all some hypocrites, Warner Brothers. Because here's the thing. So when this movie was coming out, it was a big news story that Pepe Le Pew in particular was X'd out of this movie because they didn't want to perpetuate the
creepy.
ideas of sexual abuse. Because Pepe Le Pew, for those who don't know, who's never seen the Looney Tunes, his whole thing is that he's trying to get with this cat that he thinks is another skunk, and he's pretty aggressive with his attempts at trying to get her to be with him. I'm not gonna lie, all right. He's coming on way too strong. He don't know the first thing about personal space. But I was like, okay, a little flimsy of an argument because he's a cartoon, but I respect it and I understand it. So you're exiting him out the movie, fine. But then there's a cameo in here of Rick and Morty, which literally the last episode of Rick and Morty to come out at the time of recording this is about an incest baby. So I'm just saying, like what? And that's just one episode. There have been tons of Rick and Morty episodes that are super offensive and gross and messed up. And I love Rick and Morty, but I'm just saying, where do y'all draw the line at, Warner Brothers? I don't get it.
Well, clearly incest. But
because he's also a cartoon character. It's not like he did any of this, like the Rick and Morty do any of this in real life, just like Pepe Le Pew is not a real person. He's a cartoon character. You can write him any way you want.
They really shouldn't have had
Well-
Rick and Morty because it's the amount of low. Rick and Morty was like testing their limits in their first season, and I actually enjoyed Rick and Morty. And then
I also didn't know they were Warner Brothers.
I didn't either.
But
They're not. That's why I say it's on HBO Max. They're made by Adult Swim and owned by Turner. But you know what's on HBO Max? All the Adult Swim content from Cartoon Network, including but not limited to Rick and Morty.
Which again, they really shouldn't have anything from Adult Swim. You should not use if you're going to have a child watch it in general.
I thought that too. I'm like, this is Space Jam.
There
Kids
is
are
nothing-
supposed to be watching Rick and
there's nothing from Adult Swim in a general sense that's okay to watch. Even like Robot Chicken had. Oh my god, I remember rewatching the first episode. I'm not gonna go there. Point is, I get what you're saying, and just because they use the fame of, they're trying to use the fame of Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty right now has a lot of controversy around it too. Because you're right, there's that weird incest baby they had a magical land where this guy screwed these magical creatures, and if the baby came out deformed, he would eat it. And then he would have other children with these creatures and then continue this line. So their stories have gotten to a point where it's like I can't even watch these, and I love horror films.
I mean,
this is just gross on a different level.
I love it because it's absurdist comedy. It's dark. It's messed up. But that's my, it makes me laugh. That being said, though, I recognize that it is messed up. It is very dark, and it shouldn't be in a movie that's supposed to be marketed for kids, which this movie is.
A family movie, yeah.
Right. And B, if Pepe Le Pew, who also, mind you, every Pepe Le Pew episode in Looney Tunes results in him failing to get with this cat. Like, it's not like he aggressively flirts with her and then something bad happens. At worst, he just kisses her arm a lot. And that's it. And then she escapes. That's most of them. A very few of them, she would turn the tables on him and then be obsessed with him. But nonetheless, that was it. Rick
Jerome,
and Morty has gone way
group?
past that,
Well,
and it has gone, and they
I will
allowed them to be in this.
I will say with Pepe Le
Jerome is
Pew,
a Pepe Le Pew defender.
I'm just saying, it just seems like very hypocritical. I think
I get what you're
saying.
saying.
It seems very hypocritical.
I get what you're saying about that whole thing, and it is hypocritical of them. But I will say with Pepe Le Pew, I've dealt. It's not about the fact that the cat got to walk away. It's dealing with that unwanted attention during that time, because I have had to deal with that what would be called aggressive flirting. It's not. It gets really uncomfortable. You end up feeling unsafe. The fact that you have to leave and have to watch your back walking to your car, having people. There's one time working at the theater, there was these two guests. I was closing by myself. There was these two guests. These two guys made me super uncomfortable, and I had to actually go. And our security officer left. It was what was his name? The Afro, who was always leaving early. Whatever his name. Yeah, he left early, and so I was like, I had to ask the GS guy. I'm like, hey, can you walk me to my car, which was a couple blocks away? I'm like, they hadn't actually done anything, but the amount of uncomfortability I had felt and the unsafety, and that I was like, hey, I need somebody to actually walk to my car. I understand the banishment of Pepe Le Pew because I've had to deal with Pepe Le Pews. And I am agreeing with you in the hypocriticalness that they're doing with using Rick and Morty like that, especially in a family show or a movie, whatever you want to call it. You should not be using anything from a Rick and Morty or Adult Swim in general.
I think the biggest thing is just, and it's not even a thing where I'm saying they should have put Pepe Le Pew in the movie. I feel like their reasoning for removing him from the film is completely understandable and legit. Especially because I agree with you, Alex. It is a thing of it's not just about what happened, but how it can especially in our society right now after the Me Too movement and everything, it is a serious thing. For me, it's just okay, if you're going to say that makes me think that you are being respectful and acknowledging those things and being we're not going to let that happen in our movie unless it makes us money, in which case Rick and Morty, come on in the door. And I'm like, okay, then that means you're hollow. You're you didn't mean what you said at all.
And they probably don't. But that's all I'm saying is with the Pepe Le Pew removal, I think it's different, but at the same time, you are right. Anything from Adult Swim should never be used in a family movie. Nothing.
Not if you're trying to sell it as a family film. If you're selling it as this is the Adult Swim, this is an adult. If this is rated R, perfect. Put Rick and Morty in, whatever.
Yeah.
But since this is supposed to be for the kids to enjoy watching LeBron play the basketballs with the Looney Tunes, it's not appropriate.
Basketball.
If Pepe Le Pew is not appropriate, Rick and Morty is definitely not appropriate either. On a similar note, Pennywise technically isn't either, but at least he's just a cameo in the background that if you see him, you see him. If you don't, he's not important to the film.
Pennywise was in the movie? I didn't see him.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the members in the crowd of all the Warner Brothers characters that are watching the game.
He's a child murderer.
Yep, he's in the movie too.
That's the only real alien they actually had in the film, because technically Pennywise was an alien.
Funny enough, someone told me apparently you can also find the guys from A Clockwork Orange. They're in the crowd too. Because you can find that movie on, you guessed it, HBO Max.
So, rounding up, Jonathan, where
Well,
can
on
we
that
find
note,
you? Oh yeah,
you
say
can-
wait, no, wait, say your line. Say your line.
Wait,
say your
what?
line. I said say your line. On that note,
What line? Oh, on that note, you can
the thing you say every end of episode, but go on.
you can find me at Jonathan Keys on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you please. Jerome, where can we find you?
You can find me at Not Jerome Red on Instagram and stuff. My Instagram comic that will be coming up on RoboZoo Media is coming together pretty well. Now that I can do digital art, it looks way better than it did because I drew it on paper, but I was planning on scanning it in. But now that I can draw on my tablet, I'm in the process of redrawing it because it was gonna come out, but I will keep you guys posted. So also you can find me on at RoboZoo Media to both check that out and other things I'll be working on going forward.
And you can find me at Alex and Nobody on Instagram. Same on Twitter. I'm trying to be a little more active on there. And I also run the TikTok account, the First Ones to Die podcast, where that is also our name on all our social media for Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And I would also like to give a fair warning for next episode, because I will be drinking. Because we will be reviewing
Oh my gosh,
something.
yes, I forgot.
I want to
about
warn people that I will be drinking, whether you're watching listening to the audio or watching the video. Why? Well, you'll just have to come see why everybody's cool with me drinking on this episode. Come watch, see what's
I don't
going on.
remember what we're even doing.
I'm
Next week.
so excited for this. I'm so
It was that show that Jonathan agreed.
Sexy Beast.
Yeah, don't say.
I remember now.
Shoot. Sorry.
It's supposed to be a surprise about.
You know what?
Quincy
I'll
Jones.
cut it out.
We
You know
can
what? I'm
cut it out.
gonna edit it out. I'm gonna cut it out so that
Cut
way
it
people
out.
don't know. They're just gonna be so mad because they'll be like, "He said it, and you still cut it out anyway." And I want to know, goddamn. You want to know? Tune in next week. The
Yes.
First Ones to Die podcast.
Tune in next week for what Jonathan says and why Alex is drinking.
Until then,
thought
you
you
can
had
enjoy
I
some
thought you had-
fantastic entertainment on, you guessed it, HBO
HBO
Max.
Max.
Until you get there. Until next week.
And that's all, folks.
Jonathan's getting more creative than us. Fine. Couldn't let us in on that.
This came in his bark box, so I can't take credit for it.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Oh, I almost ended the meeting.